This episode of Multiverse Tonight is brought to you by Podcorn, the marketplace that connects podcasters with podcast sponsorship opportunities like host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. Any podcaster, big or small, can take advantage of this platform. You can set up your rates and begin working with all kinds of advertisers. With Podcorn, you never give up control over your podcast, and Podcorn support is there to help you every step of the way. Just click on the link in my show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities today. And how do I know? Because I'm using Podcorn right now. Thanks, Podcorn. And now, here's the show. I know there's no one out there listening right now, but yeah, it's actually not a bad day. It's in the 50s. Yeah, 50 degrees exactly. Yeah. Went and saw Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker last night. It was pretty. It was a good movie. You know, there are plot holes, but those are what the books are for. Apparently, if you're wondering like how about the Emperor and all those ships and stuff like that, if you look at if you get the visual dictionary, apparently that tells you about how they revived the Emperor and where all those ships came from and all that. So I mean, there's answers, but it would help if they did answer some of that in the film. Anyway, about my life, I had a consultation a few days ago, and I'm going to have surgery. And I'm getting I'm going to have some hemorrhoids removed in about a month. Right after Planet Comic-Con, which they just announced at Planet Comic-Con that Christopher Eccleston will be there one day and one day only. But I'm not going to get his autograph. $90. It's just a little outside. I don't think he's worth $90. He was a one-time doctor, one season. Yeah. And I don't think he's worth $90. If he was $50, $60, maybe. But I mean, my big purchase of that show is John Cleese. So, yeah, if that's the only thing I walk away from that con with, I'll be good. Busy trying to cough up crap. The only thing I have is have a new router. I bought an Orbi router. The router was several years old, and it was just not cutting the job. It was not delivering all the 30 bits of streaming that I needed. So as I get an Orbi router, there's a little bitch getting it installed. The only thing is, apparently I'm going to have to buy a new graphics card, because for some reason I can't update the graphics card I have. I try to update it through the Intel tells me to go to Dell sends me a link, and when I try to install it, it says, "Whoop, it's not signed for your system. We can't install it." So I'm thinking of just buying the bullet and buying a new graphics card. Something too cheap. This computer is about like 5 years old, so I probably just need to replace it sooner than rather than later. I can probably keep. There is actually no reason why I couldn't just keep expanding on this computer. But I think sooner or later it's going to become a zero-sum game. So, considering that, let's start on my taxes as well. So, when you start doing your taxes is when you start thinking about big purchases. Anyway, we got some news today, so we'll get on that. I also sold my first ad spot for today's podcast, so I'll have a pre-roll ad right before I start. So that'll be something, something different. We'll see. So how are you? Yeah. How is everything in your world? Yeah, I have to go back to work tonight. Took a couple extra days off this past week. Finally got to see the Rise of Skywalker. Had a consultation. Why don't get to do? Well, the good news, news or that is that sometime in February I'll probably have to change when I do the podcast. Mainly because right now I work overnights from 11 p.m. to 7, 5 nights a week, and we're going to stop being open 24 hours. We'll close at like 4 close like for like 4 hours at night, which kind of sounds silly, but trust me, when you see all the people who come in and try to steal stuff from the store, actually, was a good idea. But that means that all of us night shifters will have to go to first or second shift. And I don't know where I'm going right yet. It's either, I'm hoping for first shift. I'm aiming for first shift. But that kind of depends on where they need me. Right now, probably sales floor. Although, could be one of the cap teams. And so, it'll be a change. That'd be a good change. Working 7 years at night really kind of wears on you. I'm surprised I've made it this far. Anyway, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get down to the news. Okay? So, let's see if this goes off. 3, 2, 1. Nope. All right. This episode of Multiverse Tonight is brought to you by Podcorn, the marketplace that connects podcasters with podcast sponsorship opportunities like host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. Any podcaster, big or small, can take advantage of this platform. You can set up your rates and begin working with all kinds of advertisers. With Podcorn, you never give up control over your podcast, and Podcorn support is there to help you every step of the way. Just click on the link in my show notes to sign up to Podcorn and start browsing sponsorship opportunities today. And how do I know? Because I'm using Podcorn right now. Thanks, Podcorn. And now, here's the show. Tonight, everyone has an opinion of the rise of Skywalker. William Shatner does a good deed, and Seth MacFarlane goes to the birds on the sci-fi edition of Multiverse Tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. And here's your host, Thomas Townley. This episode of Multiverse Tonight is brought to you by Podcorn. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of Multiverse Tonight. Well, I finally got to see the rise of Skywalker. Went to see that with the good lady wife last night. So here's my review. Here's my 2 cents. It was very, very good. It's not the worst. It's not the best. I'd still say The Force Awakens was the best of the new trilogy. It's just very, very, very good. Now, it was very happy. I was very happy with how they wrapped up the Skywalker saga, to tell you the truth. And there were, of course, a fair amount of plot holes that every Star Wars film has had. But, of course, that's why you go and, do research. You go read the books. Apparently all the stuff with the Emperor and the Sith planet and all that is in the visual dictionary. So go to a store, pull that off the shelf and read about what that is, or good to just research it on the internet, because as you know, nothing in books stays in books. People on the internet just blab it out. But if it weren't for those plot holes, it wouldn't be a Star Wars movie. Every Star Wars movie has a fair number of plot holes. By the way, did you notice the Ewoks? You know the plot hole I have with that? Those Ewoks should be dead. After the Death Star blew up over the forest moon of Endor, shrapnel should have rained down on that planet, causing a firestorm, killing every single thing there. But, of course, this is also a universe where you have planets that just have one ecosystem. Anyway, no matter who makes these films, whether it's J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, George Lucas, whoever, they all are Star Wars films, and they're all good. Anyway, let's get down to some actual Star Wars news. Now, in episode 2 of The Mandalorian, the hero finds himself at the mercy of Jawas, who have destroyed his vessel. And in order to get his ship parts back, he must make a deal with them to bring back the egg of a Mudhorn. The Mudhorn, which kind of resembles, the modern-day rhino, but it looks like it could be based on something even older. In fact, a fan of the Nature's Metal subreddit noted that it actually seems to be inspired by an ancestor of the rhino called the Elasmortharum, also known as the Siberian unicorn. The creature existed between 2.6 million and 29,000 years ago, and the remains of the beast have been found across Eastern Europe and all the way down to China, with a large concentration in Kazakhstan. Now, Season 2 of The Mandalorian has been confirmed, with new episodes in the works for fall of this year. So, you want more of the child, aka Baby Yoda. So, how's your coloring skills? Vulture has partnered with illustrator Martin Gee to write a 6-scene coloring book that you can download at vulture.com, and we'll have links to that in the show notes. It's really kind of cute. I should get more coloring in. That's good therapy. Speaking of Baby Yoda, we know that's not his name, but neither is the child. Director and actor Taika Waititi, speaking with the New York Times at the Golden Globes Awards, confirmed that he does have a name, but he isn't saying what it is. He said, quote, "He's not named Baby Yoda. There is a name yet to be revealed, and Taika knows it, but won't hint." And let me do that story again. Speaking of Baby Yoda, we know that's not his name, but neither is the child. Director and actor Taika Waititi, speaking with the New York Times at the Golden Globe Awards, confirmed that he does have a name, but he isn't saying what he is. He said, quote, "He's not named Baby Yoda. I'll wait for Favreau to give that away." So there you go, unquote. He's not. It has a name, but Favreau will probably be the ultimate decider of when that name comes out. So the ball's in your court, Mr. Favreau. The longer you hold on to the secret, the more the name Baby Yoda will stick. I'm pretty sure that name is pretty much stuck solid right now. Well, I guess while we wait for that eventuality, we will have the 7th and last season of The Clone Wars. The series will be debuting on Disney Plus on February 17th. Now, the series first debuted on Cartoon Network back in 2008. Ah, the heady days of 2008. That seems like a long, long time ago. Guess it was. The reviews of The Rise of Skywalker have been mixed. Its Rotten Tomatoes score is 54%, and it dropped nearly 60% from week 1 to week 2. Now, former Disney CEO Michael Eisner gave his opinion of the film on Twitter, saying, quote, "Hashtag Rise of Skywalker is an acceptable film. A lot of story and fan delights, but somewhat emotionless." While hashtag The Mandalorian on Disney Plus establishes show creator at Jon Favreau as the new George Lucas, which at Robert Iger had the foresight to declare Daisy Ridley played Rey throughout the film with one expression, awe, fear, until the very end of the film, when she reveals her name. That's what I meant by a film that somewhat lacked emotion. In my previous comment, I didn't mean to suggest that hashtag Daisy Ridley acted poorly. On the contrary, she was excellent. The choice of attitude for Rey was intended and sometimes to fall on the philosophy of the character, unquote. Well, I guess to each their own, Maybe they'll put that in a director's cut. And speaking of the call for a director's cut, actor Dominic Monaghan thinks that a director's cut of The Rise of Skywalker would be a good idea. Talking with The Hollywood Reporter, he said, quote, "Like a lot of Star Wars fans, I'm hoping there will be a director's cut, so we'll get to see more and more of the stuff that was filmed. I wasn't there all the time, but even the short time I was there was so much stuff filmed that they didn't make it to the theatrical version. Oh man, there was so much stuff." Now, he went on to talk about a cutscene that's involved with his character that made its way to the cutting room floor. Another thing that we will, quote, "Another thing that we will hopefully see at some point in the future was that in the final battle, Connix injures her leg. Obviously, myself, Rose, and Connix are exiting the battle, and Rose has a weapon. While Rose is busy doing stuff, I grab Connix's arm and put it over my shoulder and make sure that all of his come back as unscathed as make sure all of us come back as unscathed as possible," unquote. Now, There's a lot more to this interview at the Hollywood Reporter, and there'll be a link to that in the show notes. So, before we go, let's take a look at this weekend's past box office. Now, this is my fault, people. Let's just quickly go through the bottom five. The bottom was Spies in Disguise. Number 9 was Knives Out. Number 8 was Frozen 2. Number 7 was the debut of Underwater, which I guess is underwater. Little Women came in at number 6. Just Mercy came in at number 5. At number 4 was the debut of Like a Boss. It made $10 million. Jumanji: The Next Level fell from number 2 to number 3. And The Rise of Skywalker comes in at number 2, falling from the number 1 spot, losing again another 56%, grossing $15 million domestically. The number 1 was a movie that was just nominated for an Oscar, 1917. I think the awards buzz is what drove it up. It also gained over 3,000 theaters, so that's probably why it's number 1. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the box office for The Rise of Skywalker overall. Domestically, it's at $478 million. Internationally, it's at $511 million, making its worldwide total at this time $989,968,274, which means that's just shy of the $1 billion mark. So it'll make that $1 billion. But what people I think are grousing about is the fact that it's just gotten there and stopped. But you got to remember, this movie has been out since December 20th, so it's been out 3-4 weeks now. So the people have seen it, and that's it. Anymore, I think that's what you can. And also you also got to remember, people went back from winter break. They're now back at work, back at jobs, back at whatever. So that money is going away. Anyway, let's go on with some Star Trek news. Let's go on with some Star Trek news. Now, The Rise of Skywalker is over. The saga is finished. So what could Daisy Ridley and John Boyega do? Maybe another sci-fi franchise? The two spoke with Yahoo, and they were asked if they might be willing to join the Star Trek franchise. Daisy Ridley replied, quote, "I would do a Star Trek. I need a job. I'm unemployed. Hello?" Now, unquote. John Boyega had a different reaction, quote, "They're talking too much. The last Star Trek was Space Law and Order," unquote. Now, they did ask Oscar Isaac the same question at a different interview, and he told them that he would be open to the opportunity because he was, quote, "space slut," unquote, just like director J.J. Abrams. Well, there's good news there. It looks like there is going to be a new might be a new Star Trek film with a completely different cast. So I guess, Oscar, get your agent on the phone. Anyway, William Shatner has done a good deed over Christmas. He's due. TMZ reports that the actor visited his local Los Angeles Police Department precinct station with corned beef and pastrami sandwiches, bagels, lox, and cream cheese to help feed the officers on duty on Christmas Day. Shatner then reportedly thanked them, left a holiday card, and a few $100s to feed the officers for the rest of the day. Good job, TJ Hooker. because that was his character on that other TV show that he was on. He was on more than just Star Trek, people. Look it up. Anyway, so you may remember that the U.S. now has a new military division, the U.S. Space Force. I think we should always say it like that, by the way. Well, now word has come out that the 14th unit of the Air Force is being transferred to the Space Force and is being named Space Operations Command. Its acronym will be SPOC, or as some are referring to it as Spock. According to a press release from the Air Force, quote, the SPOC provides space capabilities such as space dominion awareness, space electronic warfare. Why can't I say that word? I don't know. Satellite communications, missile warning, nuclear detonation detection, environmental monitoring, military intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance, navigation warfare, command and control and positioning, navigation and timing on behalf of the USSF for U.S. Spacecom and other combatant commands, unquote. So there you have it, folks. They have a Spock. Or shouldn't it be Spock? Spock? I don't know. Anyway, good luck to them. Well, now it's official. Star Trek Picard has been renewed for Season 2. The announcement was made by Julie McNamara, Executive Vice President of Original Content for CBS All Access, at the biannual TCA presentation. Julie told the audience, quote, the energy and excitement around the premiere of Star Trek Picard has reached a magnitude greater than all of us at CBS All Access could have hoped for. We're thrilled to announce plans for a second season before the series debut, and we are confident that Star Trek fans and new viewers alike will be captured by the stellar cast and creative team's meticulously crafted story when it premieres on June 23rd, unquote. You know, I'm actually, really interested to see the first season of Star Trek Picard. I'll actually, put in for CBS All Access. I wouldn't do that with Discovery, which they've also gotten, looks like their, next season order, of course. I don't think that show's going to go away until the actors either quit or the people do. So, in other words, if you stop tuning in, they'll stop making it. If you tune in, they won't make it. To each their own. Anyway, let's go ahead to the geek news. Now, the geek news starts with Netflix. Now, they'll be releasing 29 movies over the course of 2020. And here are a few of note to sci-fi fans. The Platform is a movie about a future dystopia where prisoners are housed in vertically stacked cells which watch hungrily as food descends from above, feeding the upper tiers but leaving those below ravenous and radicalized. And Over the Moon, animation icon Glenn Keane makes his feature directorial debut in this musical adventure about a girl who builds a rocket ship to travel to the moon in order to prove that her father that a legendary moon goddess really exists. And there's a lot more, of course. Go to your local internet to find out. Dun-dun-dun. The GLAAD Movie Award nominations are out. Up for Outstanding Drama Series are Batwoman, Shadowhunters, Star Trek Discovery, and Supergirl. Watchmen, This Extraordinary Being is a nominee for Outstanding Individual Episode in a Series without a regular LGBTQ character. Up for Outstanding Comic Book are The Avant-Gardes, written by Carly Usdin, Bloom, written by Kevin Panetta, Crowded, written by Christopher Sibilia, Harley Quinn Breaking Glass, written by Mariko Tamaki, Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me, written by Mariko Tamanaki, L'Abtrice, written by Greg Lockhart, Lumberjanes, written by Shannon Waters and Kat Leigh, Runaways, written by Rainbow Rowell, Star Wars Dr. Aphra, written by Simon Spurrier, and The Wicked and Divine, written by Kieran Gillian. Yeah. Good luck to all. And now there are a lot of other nominees and lots of other awards too. These are just the ones that have, the sci-fi or comic book connection. If you want to read the rest of the list, just go to the link in our show notes. The Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation Awards will be handed out, half of them in New York on March 19th and the other half in LA on April 16th. Production has begun on Disney Plus's Willow series. The news comes from writer John Kasdan's Twitter feed. The series will be a follow-up to the 1988 movie directed by Ron Howard, written by George Lucas and Bob Dolman, and starring Warwick Davis in the title role. Now, Warwick will be returning to the role. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. John Kasdan is the son of writer-director Lawrence Kasdan, best known for his work on 3 Star Wars films and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Now, there are no details about any additional cast or release dates. Don't know if Val Kilmer is going to show up. That'd be kind of interesting, though. If you enjoyed the 80s, you'll enjoy this next piece of news. Disney Plus is currently in plans to remake the movie Space Camp. The original movie told the story of a group of teens attending an astronaut training camp when they are accidentally launched into space while touring the space shuttle. The movie starred Leah Thompson, Kelly Preston, and a very young Joaquin Phoenix. Now, it was not really a successful movie at the box office when it was released in 1986, but that can partially be attributed to the release being just a few months after the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. The new Space Camp will be written by Saturday Night Live writers Mikey Day and Streeter Siddell, and will be produced by John Rickard, whose credits include Rampage and Horrible Bosses. Space Camp. Anyway, Seth MacFarlane is switching from a fox to a peacock. The creator behind Family Guy, American Dad, and The Orville has signed a 9-figure deal with NBC Universal Content Studios. Sources have told The Hollywood Reporter that Seth and Fuzzy Door Productions will create and develop new TV projects for the media giant. This deal will lock Mr. MacFarlane there for 5 years and will see him grow $200 million richer. Now, Seth is said to be very excited to create new projects for the company, and it is said he's interested in, quote, starring in and producing musicals, political dramas, and anthologies around historic events, in addition to working on new animated projects. Now, this might make you worry about his other shows, but don't worry. His Fox-based shows will be just fine, as the deal leaves MacFarlane room to continue working on his now Disney-owned shows, as well as giving him room to go make films for other studios if he wishes. Now, I'll have to ask Tom Constantino about this more in a future interview. Now, here's a thought. It's over at NBC Universal, right? Seth MacFarlane's Battlestar Galactica. Okay, maybe that's one too far. Anyway, legendary filmmaker Robert Zemeckis is in final negotiations Legendary filmmaker Robert Zemeckis is in final negotiations to direct the sci-fi thriller Ares at Warner Brothers. The film has an original script from Captain Marvel writer Geneva Robertson Dwart and was originally set to be made at MGM, but now it won't go forward with the Bugs Bunny brand. Roland Emmerich will serve as executive producer, and the story is being described as follows: as genre-bending, and will have an astronaut who crashes in an African desert. On his journey home to reunite with his family, he discovers that his mission was part of a larger conspiracy. that he might be carrying a secret that could change the world. Unquote. Well, sounds interesting, I guess. I'd like to know more. Now, as I told you at the top of the show, I've had a few days off, and I've been rewatching season 1 of FX's What We Do in the Shadows. Very funny. Well, season 2 looks like it's going to be just as good, as series creator Jermaine Clement has announced that Mark Hamill will be a guest star this season. Jermaine made this announcement at the show's Television Critics Association Press Day panel. Clement also confirmed that Booksmart's Beanie Feldstein will not be returning in season 2 due to film commitments, for which Jermaine said that he was, quote, a little disappointing for me, as she was planned to be a big character, unquote. The good news is that they have found other characters to fill that void. Season 2 will add new supernatural beings to the world, such as ghosts and witches. Visual artists, and now, a little bit of sad news. Visual artist Sid Mead has passed away on December 30th, 2019, from complications from lymphoma. Before going into entertainment, he worked for corporations like Ford Motor Company, Sony, and Philips Electronics. His first role in the entertainment industry was as a production illustrator for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. A few years later, he would go on to design the Leonov spaceship in the movie 2010, and his art also influenced George Lucas in the design of the AT-AT. He has also contributed to such films as Blade Runner, Short Circuit, Tron, Time Cop, Mission Impossible 3, Elysium, Tomorrow World, and Blade Runner 2049. He passed away in Pasadena, California, at the age of 86. And we also remember American comedy legend Buck Henry. He co-created the secret agent comedy series Get Smart with Mel Brooks and the short-lived sci-fi comedy Quark. The legendary writer worked for Saturday Night Live in its infancy and even hosted the show 10 times from 1976 to 1980. He also appeared in many movies like Catch-22, which he wrote, The Man Who Fell to Earth, Heaven Can Wait, which he wrote and directed, Grumpy Old Men, and also TV shows like Murphy Brown, Tales from the Crypt, Dilbert, Hot in Cleveland, and Franklin and Bash. Buck Henry died on January 8, 2020 in Los Angeles from a heart attack. He was 89. And that will bring us to the end of another sci-fi edition of Multiverse Tonight. Now, be sure to check us out on our social media. We're at Twitter, at Multiverse Tom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Multiverse Tonight as well. And if you didn't like the ad at the start of the show, I'm sorry. But if you'd like to contribute money to see that you never have to go through that again, please visit mtpodcast.com to go to our Coffee or Patreon as well. And be sure to visit multiversetonight.com to check out our affiliate marketplace links, the link to our TeePublic store, our show notes, and so much more. Now, if you're a subscriber, be sure to share us with your friends. And if you're brand new to the show, please be sure to subscribe. Leave us with some feedback, and let us know how we're doing. Special thanks to Shane Ivers for our intro music and Lobo Loco for our outro theme music. Thanks for watching the sci-fi edition of Multiverse Tonight. Now, we'll be back in just a couple of days with the comic book edition. Now, please, exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half Big Genre Productions. Copyright 2020. All rights reserved. I don't think it was half bad. I don't think it was half good either. It was a so-so episode. It's hard doing a show like this in the middle of winter when you have seasonal depression, because you have to make yourself do it. Okay, you do. You have to, pretty much make yourself want to put, pen to paper, so to speak, to write it. And as you see, sometimes my writing leaves something to be desired, so I have to edit it on the fly. But anyway, we'll begin the comic book edition just in a minute here. All right. Get some water. I need water. All right. Here's your show notes up here for the comic book edition. Apparently I scare people off. Or they get really bored. Yeah. Well, you come at the wrong time. I could do like graphics and stuff like that, but and maybe when I'm when I'm on days and if I feel like I have more time, I might go into doing graphics. I did the early few episodes, I did have like graphics over my shoulder, to illustrate whatever I was talking on, but that takes a lot of time. And besides that, I have two Stream Decks here. I have a small one and a medium-sized one. What I really need to do like graphics would pretty much be the largest one I have, which I think is like 64 buttons or 32 or 64 buttons. I can't remember. But it would give me enough that I could like assign each item a new button, and just do the show like button, bum, 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 like that, and just switch. What I have is really not enough. It's enough to switch between, subjects, basically. Anyway, let's push record and get back on it. Get back on it. Get back on it. And then I can go eat. All right. Tonight, Joaquin Phoenix is tired of the same old questions. Australia's favorite Thor chips in for his homeland, and Kevin Smith gives an update on Jay and Silent Bob reboot on the comic edition of Multiverse Tonight. Comic books, sci-fi, fantasy, and more. If you're looking for a roundup of geeky news, you're in the right place. This is Multiverse Tonight. here's your host, Thomas Townley. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the comics edition of Multiverse Tonight, episode 59. Yes, that's right, we're just 10 episodes away from making a sex joke. Now, I've been taking a few days off, had a consultation with the surgeon for a hemorrhoidectomy. The less said about that, the better, but know that there might be, I might have to take a week off from the podcast. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, I also went to see The Rise of Skywalker. I had a review to that in the previous episode. And I also sat down and read a couple of comics. Star Trek Discovery Aftermath #1 and Undiscovered Country #1, both from IDW. Now, I thought both were interesting enough to, read the next issue. Undiscovered Country is a unique concept. Basically, it's been like 20 years since the United States mainland walled itself off from the rest of the world. And a team has to enter the reclusive nation to find a cure for a plague that's going to cause basically the end of the world. It's a very original concept. I'd be interesting to see how far this one goes. Now, let's go on with some DC comic news. Deathstroke's ongoing comic book series is coming to an end, and it actually wasn't caused by poor sales. It was planned that way. The series is written by Christopher Priest, and it's changed Slade's role in the DC universe and saw him battle with the Teen Titans again. Now, the ending was planned by Priest and DC co-publisher and editor Dan DiDio. Priest told Newsarama, quote, "The series is ending now because I went to DC publisher Dan DiDio and asked him to end the series with number 50. Sure, we could keep going, but that's not how the business works. Books launch hot, and then the numbers settle somewhere, with the occasional rarity of numbers going up. They usually settle in somewhere, numbers-wise, sure. We're not causing any problems for DC, but we're not setting the world on fire either, which ties up talents DC could redeploy elsewhere and get better numbers. Now, I didn't want the book to get canceled at number 56 or number 62, so I said to Dan, let's plan it so it works into the publishing plan and budget and all of that, and we end on our own terms. I was really happy he agreed," unquote. Well, I guess it's better to plan your ending than to have one forced upon you. Now, we are just weeks away from the release of Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn, and eagerly awaited and the eagerly anticipated DC Black Label's Birds of Prey one-shot from Brian Azzarello and Manuel Lupacchino has been pushed back again. The special was originally going to arrive in stores at the end of January, but now it's not due in stores until March 4th, which will be, of course, after the movie comes out. No cause for this has been given. So, anyway, going to the movie news for the DC Universe, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad is in full production right now in Panama, and during the holiday break, he took time to answer some fan questions on Instagram. In answer to the question, can we expect big elaborate sets in Suicide Squad like the prison scene in Guardians of the Galaxy, he answered back, quote, "The Suicide Squad will have by far the most and biggest practical sets of any movie I've ever worked on," unquote. He also talked about how much fun he's having making the movie and how great the crew of the movie is. Now, the movie is due in theaters next year on August the 6th, so he has plenty of time to work on it. Wonder how big those sets are. Joaquin Phoenix is getting tired of being asked about Joker again and again. During the Golden Globe Awards presentation, for which he won the award for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama, he turned the question about his process for getting in character back on the interviewer. Quote, "Isn't this old news? I feel like I've talked about this for 6 months. I mean, I feel like I answered questions. You want to hear a different version of it? Should I try and change it slightly, or what should I do?" Unquote. He then went on to answer the question. So let me break this down for all of you who want to interview stars. Ask different questions. Ones that haven't been asked. Find completely off-kilter questions. Dig into the performance that hasn't been talked about. You'd be surprised the amount of appreciation you get from a celebrity if you talk about a subject, different than what they were expecting. Anyway, the Critics' Choice Awards were handed out over the weekend. Yeah, there's lots of awards news. Trust me. Joker actor Joaquin Phoenix took the Best Actor award there for Joker, and Joker also won the Best Score award. Avengers Endgame took home the Best Visual Effects award and the Best Action movie. However, it didn't take the Best Sci-Fi Horror award, which went to Us, the movie Us. Toy Story 4, of course, beat out Frozen 2 and others to take the Best Animated Feature. Now, on the TV side of the awards, Watchmen's Regina King got Best Actress in a Drama, and Jean Smart came away with Best Supporting Actress for their role in Watchmen. Now, there were plenty of other winners on the list of winners, but they're just not really related to what we talk about. So just go and click on the link in our show notes. It'll be on our website, multiversetonight.com. And speaking of Joker and awards, the British Academy of Film and Television Awards, or BAFTA, nominations were put out, and Joker has garnered 11 nominations, including Best Film, Best Leading Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Score, Best Casting, Best Cinematography, Best Editing, Best Production Design, Makeup and Hair and Sound. And Avengers Endgame and The Rise of Skywalker are up for Special Visual Effects, and The Rise of Skywalker is also up for Sound and Original Score. Frozen 2, Klaus, Shaun in the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, and Toy Story 4 are up for the Animated BAFTA Award. Now, those awards will be handed out on Groundhog Day, February 2nd, at the Royal Albert Hall in London. The CW has made its fall schedule planning much easier, as it has renewed nearly every series it has. The network has renewed everything but Arrow, Supernatural, and 100, which are all ending this season. The only series that hasn't received a formal pickup to date is the Riverdale spinoff Katie Keene, which is set to premiere next month. However, it has already received its pickup for the additional 13 episodes. Mark Pedowitz, who has just been promoted to chairman and CEO of the CW, said, quote, "These early orders for next season give our production teams a head start in plotting out story arcs and a jump on hiring staff. And this also provides us with a strong foundation of established fan-favorite CW shows to build on for next season. We've been thrilled with the creative direction of all 3 new series, and though we are in the very early stages of our new full-stack streaming strategy, which allows viewers to catch up on our new shows from the beginning, we're already seeing incredibly positive results from our multi-platform viewership for Nancy Drew and Batwoman." Unquote. However, there's bad news if you only stream the network programs from Netflix. The CW's deal with the streamer has ended. Batwoman and Katie Keene will now stream on HBO Max starting next year. Nancy Drew will be going to CBS All Access, and the rest of the shows will stay on Netflix for now, but expect that to change. Also, the CW is currently working on new shows for the 2020 fall season, including a Walker Texas Ranger remake, a Kung Fu reboot, a female-centered Arrow spinoff, and a sequel series to Dark Shadows, and that Superman and Lois series, which has been in the works for a few weeks. Now, let's listen to this Stitcher ad for a second while I get a drink of water, and then we'll go on with the Marvel news. Hey everyone, we'll get right back to the news, but first, I'd like to tell you about our new affiliate, Stitcher Premium. With Stitcher Premium, you get all your favorite podcasts, but you get them all with no ads. That's right, no audio ads, no banner ads, not even ads on the archives of some of your favorite shows. You also get access to Stitch originals like Marvel's Wolverine, The Long Night, Issa Rae's Fruit, and Colt Cabana's Pro Wrestling Fringe. You also get access to bonus episodes, access to new releases first, and access to the hundreds of comedy albums at your fingertips, and so much more. To get started, just go to Stitcher.com/premium and enter promo code Multiverse for a free month. After that, pay just $4.99 a month, and you can save even more by going yearly for just $34.99. That's nearly a $25 savings over the monthly rate. So go to Stitcher.com/premium and enter promo code Multiverse today. Alright, some Marvel news. Excuse me. Marvel news. Director Strange... Alright, here's some Marvel news. Doctor Strange 2 is now directionless. Director Scott Derrick has left the project due to creative differences with the studio, according to a report in Variety. The studio has confirmed the exit, and he will remain attached to the project as executive producer. The movie will begin production in May, and there's not expected to be any delays in production. Now, the search for his replacement is currently underway. The movie is expected in theaters the first weekend of May 2021. Now, Disney Plus's WandaVision series will be coming sooner rather than later. This year. Yes, that's right. This year. The news came in a post on Disney Plus's Twitter during a video touting the slate of releases this year. Now, no word on when WandaVision will be coming, but, I'm going to guess the fall. Prove me wrong, Marvel and Disney. Australia is in some pretty bad straits right now. A big portion of the continent is on fire right now. 16 million acres, in fact. Australian native Chris Hemsworth and his family are donating $1 million to Australian firefighters. He posted a video on social media, quote, "Hi everyone, like you, I want to support the fight against the bushfires here in Australia. My family and I are contributing $1 million. Hopefully you guys can chip in too. Every penny counts, so whatever you can muster up is greatly appreciated. I've put together links supporting firefighters, organizations, and charities who are working flat out to provide support during this devastating and challenging time. Beyond appreciative to everyone around the world for their well wishes and donations. It really does make a difference. So dig deep. Love ya." Unquote. Now, if you're interested in donating yourself, Chris provided links to various agencies that would appreciate your donations. I'll have a link to his link in the show notes. Thor: Love and Thunder might be getting some help from a former Batman. Christian Bale might be up for a role in the fourth Thor movie. No word on what role he might be up for, but it's going to be a substantial one. Let's keep in mind that this movie will see Natalie Portman's Jane Foster take up the mantle of Thor. Perhaps it'll be Beta Ray Bill. Come on, Marvel. Make Beta Ray Bill a reality in the MCU. In comics news, Marvel's newest superhero hails from Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan to be exact. The character, named Amulet, was introduced via Detroit native Saladin Ahmad's Twitter account. Quote, "I am thrilled to introduce you all to Marvel's new superhero, the mystical defender Amulet. He's Arab American from Dearborn, Michigan, and was created by myself and at Sarah Alfaji. Amulet, aka Fadi Fidela, will make his Marvel Universe debut in The Magnificent Ms. Marvel number 13, and will figure into next year's Outlawed event. Got some big plans for this guy. This one means a lot to me. Superhero comics help teach me to read, and as an Arab American kid, I never quite saw myself in them. To be able to add a character with a name like mine that shares my heritage and my hometown to his pantheon, whew, for those asking, he's Lebanese. Unquote. Well, I'm very interested in saying this. I have loved the Ms. Marvel character. Now, let's go on to some geek news. Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob reboot is doing quite well. The director and man of many talents has revealed in a New Year's post that, quote, settle down, folks, this will be a long one. 2019 was seriously one of the best years of my life. So many of my dreams came true this year, as well as a few big things too dazzling to even dare dream about. From the return of at Jane Silent Bob to having my career really cemented at the legendary Chinese theaters. Clerks being accepted into the Library of Congress, 2019 kept giving and giving. So glad I didn't drop dead back in 2018 because I would have missed all the stuff I listed on with my pick. Thank you to everyone who supported the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow tour. We've made over $3 million from our 2 at Phantom event screenings and the 37 cities we've visited so far. Tour resumes January 10th in Oakland and another 25 cities throughout February 26th. Many thanks for powering my dopey dream of reopening the Askew universe and making me and J Muse feel so welcomed in all of your towns and cities. It's going to be hard for 2020 to measure up to 2019, but I'm off to a fun start by writing stuff for Brody Bruce and company to say in the new script I'm calling Twilight of the Mallrats. The Clerks 3 script is also underway, so we'll see which flick will be first, the first film of the Roaring Twenties. But tonight, I end the year like I always do, standing on stage at the Hollywood Improv with Ralph Garman making babble until the ball drops. It was a decade that began badly with Cop Out and the Too Fat to Fly incident, the decade of the Red State Tour at Tusk and at Yoga Hosers. It was the decade in which I almost died of a massive heart attack, and the decade where I went vegan and got down to my high school weight. Who knows what the next decade holds in store for us, but I'm ready to turn the page and find out. Happy New Year, my friends. Hashtag Kevin Smith, hashtag New Year's Eve, hashtag 2019. Unquote. Yeah, I'm telling you that was a long post. You know, $3 million is pretty good, especially for Kevin Smith. And the fact that he's working on Mallrats 2 and Clerks 3, very groovy. I'm so happy to see that. The Oscar nominations are out, and The Joker is wild with 11 nominations. Now, let's go over the geeky ones. A Joker is up for Best Picture, but he's got stiff competition, including Ford vs. Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Little Women, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Marriage Story, Parasite, and 1917. Joker is also up for Adapted Screenplay, Costume Design, Sound Mixing, Film Editing, Makeup and Hairstyling, and Cinematography. Joker and Star Wars Rise of the Skywalker are up for Sound Editing and Original Score. Joaquin Phoenix is up for Best Actor. Todd Phillips is up for Best Director for Joker. Now, the films up for Best Animated Film at the Oscars are How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Klaus, Missing Link, and Toy Story 4. Avengers Endgame, The Lion King, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, The Irishman, and 1917 are all up for Best Visual Effects. Mark Millar has announced that the third installment in his Jupiter's Legacy franchise, Jupiter's Requiem, is on its way. Mark teased it on Twitter, sharing a photo of his computer screen where he is writing the script, with the caption, Jupiter's Circle is in the past. Jupiter's Legacy is in the present. Jupiter's Requiem is in the future. Unquote. Now, not much could be gleaned from the photo except that the series will be 10 issues long and will have an opening scene that takes place 50,000 years in the past. The artist is being kept top secret. Now, a TV adaptation of Jupiter's Legacy is currently in production at Netflix. Stephen Fry will be hosting a special on the BBC called Fantastic Beasts: A Natural History. The special will, quote, show the origins and stories of mythical creatures and the fantastical beasts from J.K. Rowling's stories and explore their history and connections with animals roaming the planet today, unquote. It will be created and released in a partnership with Warner Brothers and London's Natural History Museum. Stephen Fry, in a statement, said, quote, I could not be more delighted to be a part of this magnificent opportunity for us muggles to show the wizarding world that the fantastic beasts in our world are more than a match for theirs. Joining forces with the combined powers of the fabulous BBC, its legendary Natural History Unit, and the magical Natural History Museum, we hope to be able to bring you closer than you've ever been to some of the most spectacular and extraordinary creatures you've ever seen, unquote. Now, there is no official release date for the special, and even the title is a work in progress. Stay tuned. And speaking of science, IDW is teaming up with the Smithsonian. The Smithsonian will be lending its name and knowledge to a new series of graphic novels, picture books, and more. In a statement to the New York Times, Chris Ryle, IDW's president, publisher, and chief creative officer, said, quote, the most energizing thing about working with the Smithsonian creators, researchers, and zookeepers is that these are not just experts in their fields, they're storytellers. Together, we'll use the unique power of comics to entertain, inspire, and educate readers of all ages about the wonders of history, science, technology, culture, and more. Unquote. This new line will launch in the fall. And that brings us to the end of the comic book news. Now, be sure to check us out on our social media. We're at Twitter, at Multiverse Tom. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And if you'd like to contribute some money, please visit mtpodcast.com to go to our Coffee or Patreon as well. And be sure to visit multiversetonight.com to check out the affiliate marketplace links, the link to our TeePublic store, our show notes, and so much more. Now, if you're a subscriber, thank you. Thank you very much. Please be sure to share us with your friends. And if you're brand new to the show, double thanks. Please hit that subscribe. Listen to us again. Leave us, and go to iTunes or wherever you can leave reviews. Leave reviews, and leave us with some feedback. At our address. Let us know how I'm doing. I have no idea how good or bad I am unless you tell me. And special thanks to Shane Ivers for the intro music and Lobo Loco for the outro theme music. Now, thanks for watching the comic book edition of Multiverse Tonight. We'll be back in just a couple of weeks with the sci-fi edition. Now, please, exit the universe in an orderly fashion. Good night. Multiverse Tonight is a production of Half Big Genre Productions. Copyright 2020. All rights reserved. Well, folks, that's the end of another show. I won't say this is the greatest episode ever, because it's not. I don't believe in that. I just believe in consistency. Show up when you say you're going to show up. Put out an episode when you say you're going to put out an episode. Anyway, I have to go find something to eat. I'm kind of hungry. It's 2 o'clock. Yeah. So I'm going to find something to eat.